Hello, and welcome back to Monifactory. I'm full of energy. I'm ready to go today. Now, I know it doesn't seem like we've been making a lot of progression through the tiers, through the circuits, through the machines, but this is good progress. Last episode, we made the microverse miner, which allows us to basically like digitally mine ores using just some steel, kind of, mostly steel. We can pop a little rocket digital miner, some rocket fuel in here, and we get an output of a whole bunch of different ores. And today we're going to work on setting up a sort of an ore processing system so that we could get the actual materials out of these ores. Because we don't just want to take these and smelt them. That's not going to give us anything. That's just going to give us one ingot for each of these ores. We can get so much more out of our ores. If we take a look at one of these ores and we hit U, let's do iron for example. If we smelt this, we just get iron. But if we crush this first, we're going to get 2 iron ore and then a little bit of nickel dust as a byproduct. Then we can do other things with it. I think we're going to wash it, which gives us some more nickel dust. Then we can get tin dust. So we can get all sorts of different byproducts out of our ores just by going through this machine line. So that's what I'm going to be setting up today. I've hopefully figured out a plan for this ahead of time. We're gonna find out really soon though if it works. Hopefully really soon. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. First, I need to get some power. So if you remember, up until now, we've been ore doubling our ores with these steam multi-blocks by putting the raw ores that we're getting from mining into a crusher. This is basically acting as a macerator, but this was able to process 8 items at the same time, meaning that it has been better than our LV and HV machines. But now that we have, LV and MV, now that we have HV, we have access to better ore doubling. Because these earlier macerators do not give you the byproducts. It's not until HV that you start getting the byproducts, so that's why we're upgrading now. I think there is an exception with the steam separator though, because it seems like we were getting some byproducts out of centrifuging our impure piles. But I'm not sure. This way is going to be better anyway. You know what else I need? Definitely need an angel ring, because I'm tired of doing this. Cannot lie. Anywho, we need some power in here. The first step in this process is going to be the macerator. If we look at our ore again, we can see that there's a couple of different routes you can take in order to get different byproducts. But I think to get the most bang for our buck right now, we're going to start with the macerator for sure. And I probably didn't give myself enough room here, but that's okay. We'll deal with that later. So our ores, I need to macerate some pyrite anyway. So they're going to go into the macerator. We're going to get crushed ores out of this along with some byproducts. We're going to have this auto output into a barrel. And we're going to deal with the logistical side of everything later, dealing with the byproducts of everything, of course. But the next step in this process was going to be to wash our ores in the ore washer. Now we have a couple different options for what we can use to wash our ores. We're definitely going to want to use distilled water. It is twice as fast, and distilled water is very cheap to make. Now to get our crushed ores in here, am I talking very loud? I can't tell yet. I'm on like go mode, I guess. I'm prepared. To get our ores into our ore washer, we're going to use a conveyor to pull from this barrel, but we need a filter on this so that it doesn't pull all of this excess stuff. And instead of using a normal filter and selecting all of the different ores manually, we can use an item tag filter. All of the Gregtech ores have a tag under them, and I think if you hit F3 and H, maybe? Yes, there we go. Well, that doesn't really help. But what we can do is use this tag filter to select which tag we want to pull from this barrel. So having crushed ore does not have the same tag as dust, for example. So what we can do is type in crushed, and to make it select all of the crushed ore, we're going to add a little asterisk at the end, and that will make it a wildcard, meaning it will select all of the crushed ore. Then we'll import it, and that should work beautifully. So now we just need some distilled water in here. It took me ages, but I finally got a distillery. We're going to pop this right above our ore washer. We're going to put an infinite water cover on this. And then we can just pop on circuit 1 to make some distilled water. Have this auto output into our ore washer, and this should start going. We're going to get purified ore out of this, which we're going to put into another barrel. We also get some more byproducts, so we'll deal with those later. The next step is going to be to thermal centrifuge this, which is going to get us refined ore and then a different byproduct. We're once again going to do our tag filter here. This time we're going to do purified ore. So we're going to say purified with a wildcard, and that should only import that purified ore. In order to save some power, we can knock down things like our distillery to LV. We definitely want our ore processing machines to run at HV though. So I may need another motor. So we're going to have this go into one more barrel. Output. Get that refined ore. And then the last step is going to be to put it into a macerator to finally get dust. So one more conveyor with a filter for refined ore. Wildcard, import, perfect. And then I'll get another barrel, and I need to give myself a little bit more room to work with. But this is the last step in our ore processing setup. Now we just need to deal with all of the byproducts. We need to get this set up so that these can automatically input into our macerator. And we have to do something about this dense iron ore. And I need a little more power. So we'll do one thing at a time. I will mention the moon dust is just going to get macerated, and we'll get that out from this barrel right away. And then the dense iron ore needs to be processed in a chemical reactor first to get the actual iron ore. We can't macerate this right away, but this needs to be combined with nitric acid, and this shouldn't be too hard to get. We just need a couple chemical reactors, so we'll get that going next. To help with our benzene production, I bumped our pyro ovens back up to HV because for some reason I turned them off of HV and back on MV. I also had to change the greenhouse to not use fertilizer anymore. For some reason this recipe got completely broken, and now dirt just gets made into mud instead of the fertilizer because there's no circuit or anything to control it. So you can't make fertilizer in a mixer with this way, so we would either have to find a different way to make fertilizer automatically, and the only other ways require non-renewable resources, so we're going to avoid doing that right now. But hopefully our benzene is a little bit back up. And obviously this isn't going to be the fastest setup right now. Ideally we would have more machines here, or eventually even higher tier ones, but this is going to do us very good for a start until we have things like better power. One of my comments mentioned EU P2P. I have to take a look at that, but we're off to a very good start here. Okay, after a lot of planning and crafting, I think I'm ready to work on the importing of these ores. Not the iron ore yet. That's going to be a whole other project. But what we're going to do is set up sort of a subnet for our AE2 system. It's going to be a little weird to explain how this works, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to take our main AE connection and we're going to pop this onto an ME interface. We want to put a storage bus onto it first though. So this should be separate from our normal AE2 network. And then we want to give this power from our AE2 system. So without connecting these two, we can use a piece of quartz fiber to do this. Whoops. Hold on. Yeah, you just want to make sure that none of your normal Fluix cables are connecting to this. But this will allow us to get AE2 power to these without connecting to our main network. So this should be its own network now. So what we want to do is pop a drive onto here. I've got two different storage cells. One is going to be for all of our dust. And then the other one, we're going to store all of these stone dust that we're getting. We need to set this one up first. So in a cell workbench, we can pop our storage cell. We can set it to only store stone dust. And then we can use an overflow destruction card. which is basically like a void filter. So we'll put this in here as well. So now we'll be able to store some stone dust, but if it ever gets too full, it will just destroy any extra, since we seem to be getting a lot of this stuff. So now I have an export bus on our macerator. This is where we're going to start importing all of these ores and the lunar sand. We're not going to do the dense iron ore though. Instead, we're going to import normal iron ore, and then we will fix the dense iron ore problem soon. And then in theory, if I put a import bus off of our output of the microverse projector, this should go into our storage, which it looks like it definitely is. And then once this iron clears out, and I'm not sure if 16K is going to be big enough, but it'll give us a start at least, and I'll fix it later. But yes, our considerate is going into the storage cell, getting exported into our macerator, and this will go down the ore processing line. So yeah, I may end up needing more storage cells, but we'll fix that problem in the future if needed. But we can see all of our ores are going into here. We can add an interface so that we can see everything. A terminal, I meant. So if we put this connected to this subnet here, we can see all of our ores. And you'll see that only the ores are stored in this network, but in our other network, we can also see them. But they're going to stay in this network over here, and they won't clog up our existing storage cells, which is going to be very nice. So the next step would be to get all of our dust and stuff into our network. And I think I have a very easy fix for this. It would be kind of hard to put an export bus or an import bus on all of these, because we would have to filter out every single dust. I don't think the import buses have like specific tags that we can select. I don't think they have the ability to do that. But what does have tag filters is create funnels. Now you do have the option to add create into this mod pack when you get started. It's not enabled by default. And these create components, I think the recipes aren't changed from as far as what I can see. So these things are actually really easy to craft at this stage. We don't need that many, we just need one for each barrel. And then we'll need some attribute filters. Now I'm not going to be going over too much about the mechanics of create in this. I have so many other series on create. So if this is something you're interested in, feel free to go check those out. But we're going to do a super simple setup and have a belt coming out of our barrels. We're going to bring this all the way to our ME interface. I suppose I need a wrench. We can use a create wrench to rotate our shafts. We're going to pop a couple of these in. We're going to connect a mechanical belt up. This is just made out of rubber. So we can connect this all the way along here. We can get our water wheel flowing. Hopefully this goes the right way. Maybe I need to move it back one. Okay, so I got my water wheel flowing. It's flowing the wrong direction though, so we're going to use a gearbox to change it. We want our belt to be going all the way this way into our ME interface. We're going to use some brass funnels here to export our dust out of the barrels. So let's start at the end here. We can pop these in, and if we shift right click, it's going to start them facing the wrong direction, which is good. We want that because we don't want them to come out yet. We need to set some filters for them first, so that only the dust come out of here and not any of the crushed ores or anything. So, attribute filter, we're going to take any random dust, and then we're going to scroll down in here until we have forged dust selected. We can add that attribute to the list, and that should change all 4 of these to be a filter for dust. So if we pop these in here, only dust should be able to come out of these. So we can flip these around. Brass filters have the ability to export 64 items at a time. Uh-oh. Okay. This is fine. I just need one more filter. And I think we should be able to put a funnel on here on our ME interface, and it should all go into our system. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, this works perfectly. I mean, yeah, that's it. All that's really left to do is to fix the dense iron ore situation. So we just need to set up some nitric acid chemical reacting and then we'll be good to go with that. So let me get set up for this. Looks like we're going to need one chemical reactor for making the iron ore, another for making nitric acid, another for making nitrogen dioxide, a fourth one for making nitric oxide. Maybe I can steal the one making nitric oxide up here? Let me find out. Hold on, I'm lost in my own base. Okay, so we're not making nitric acid, but we do have ammonia. I also realized that in order for stone dust to go into this cell specifically, it has to be first for some reason. So I had to clear that out, but now that should be good. If we wanted to, we could speed up this belt a little bit. It seems like some things are getting stuck here and there, but it's not a huge deal right now. Let's see if I can't fix up some nitric acid. I'm going to do this up here since we already have ammonia production from this guy. All we really need is some ammonia in here with some oxygen. Then we're going to take our nitric oxide and mix it with oxygen again to get nitrogen dioxide. Oh, wait, hang on a minute. Hold on. How do I stop that from happening? We just need to set our storage bus to extract only, and then we shouldn't be able to put anything from our main system in there. I think. Yes, that did fix it. Alright, so our last chemical reactor here, we're going to export oxygen one more time, along with getting water in here. Should be able to auto-export this nitrogen dioxide, mix this with oxygen, water, and then finally, we can make nitric acid, yes. I think I can just storage bus this for now, since we're only going to need it for our ore processing. And then, somewhere back here, we're going to put our chemical reactor, our export bus, connect this up. We're going to import the dense iron ore and nitric acid. That should go into there. Wouldn't hurt to get some acceleration cards on here, because it is very slow. Oh no, can it not export nitric acid since this is a different network? So what I did is swap the nitric acid output to an input bus. So that's getting input into our main network. And then on this bottom storage bus, not only to fix having random items go in here, but to only allow nitric acid to go in, I put a filter in this storage bus to only allow this. We can filter on insertion only and keep the input-output mode on bidirectional. So that way, only nitric acid is allowed in here, everything else is still allowed out. And then I made a fluid storage cell for nitric acid. Then we can export this into our iron ore. And this is working wonderfully. Then we can auto output this to our macerator. Looks like I need even more power. And do we need to run this at HV? Yes, we do. That's okay, though. I'll get one more power source, I think, and then this will run perfectly. And with that, that is ore processing all complete. I didn't expect to need to use Create for this, but we did, and it actually looks really cool. So I guess with that, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.